Greetings and salutations, Internet Citizens. It is Wolfphototech, and here we are with another delightful video. One slight note, this is only going to be recorded in 1080p, 60 frames per second. I'm generally seeing a trend where most people don't care if it is recorded as high as a 4K resolution. So I'm just not going to do it because 4K basically triples / quadruples the time frame it takes to upload. And the 90% of people who use YouTube run it on phones, and most phones don't have high enough resolution that people can see it, nor are they big enough that high resolution greater than, say, 720p or 1080p is sufficient for them. You know, most people don't have a high enough resolution in their eyeballs to see the difference between 4K and 1080p outside of the illusion of thinking they can actually see a difference. It's more important to have a higher frame rate than anything else. So, right on to the whole deal. This is Lairs and Legends. This was from Luke Hart's of the DM Lair's most recent Kickstarter. I just recently received this book. This is the compilation of the 2021 issues of Lair Magazine. If I got that correct. It MSRPs for $60. You can go to the Kickstarter and buy these if you want. And post. It's these books, there's actually 2 of the books in the set, is well over 300 pages. This book happens to be almost 400 pages. Almost. It has a nice purple-brown theme with dragons all over it, with a blue inner page. We have pictures of the regular as well as the alt cover. And we got the backer credits right here. If you want, you can actually find my name in this book. It's not terribly hard. It's typically on... It's one of the vertical columns. It's not... Once you know what my actual name is, it actually is not that hard to find it, because it usually is on the edge. This is the dedication page to all the core people on the staff. This is the table of contents. The table of contents in his books are superb, short of being absolutely perfect. They are like a 4.9 star quality table of contents. Pretty much everything is in the table of contents. An exception is, say, in Into the Fae and the other book, they don't list the stat blocks for monsters in the table of contents. But in this book, yes, they do. This book has Introduction, Part 1, Adventures, which is, you got the Crevasse, the Willowmance, the Serpentine Hunt, the Adventures in Dragon Sitting, the Auction House, Tassels at the Tide Pool Tavern, or Tussles actually, the Azer Caverns, Are You Coming for the Dinner, Ambushes and Avalanches, A Collector, A Journey into a Worm, The Tower of the Trapped Soul, A Cry for Help, The Undying Brain. Oh, that's like 1920s atomic horror or sci-fi there. The Lost Temple of the Burk, Totekinski's Revenge, The Coop of Sklavisky, The Scourge, A Wicked Bargain, The Oracle of Shadows, Temple of the Rotten Gods, The Floating Citadel of the Wizard King Adventure Arc, and then you have quite a few here, The Wrath of the Scorned, The Shattered Lair of the Mount Fellow, The Conquest of Thought, The Sovereign of Hurricane, and the Wayward Wayfarer. And then you have part 2, which is the Bestiary. So this book is basically all adventures, where the other book has little adventure, a short adventure for like one level or a one shot, and has NPCs and all kinds of other stuff. This one actually has more long form adventures. They go out over many levels, more proper campaigns, as well as beasts. You got the introduction here. As I said before with the other book, it is all very well written and is very well spaced out. Periodically, you'll have spots where this is a placeholder for art that was not hit with the Kickstarter. And then this is part 1, the adventures. And it's actually, as far as I've read, they are all very well laid out. They're very well thought up. They're very well organized. You can actually see the organization here. You got Game Master notes, storyline, locations listed out, so you know all the locations in the adventure. You got key NPCs all listed out here, so it's not a surprise. Lucard has put forth a great deal of effort in ensuring that new game masters get all the core pinpoints or bullet points at the beginning of the adventure. That way they can like take notes quickly and know, oh, what is this person like? What's that person like? These are very important people for this adventure. And then these are important places, and this is this is the flow of the adventure. And so, I got a good idea what this adventure is all about before I even have gone through reading the entire thing in detail. I have a good takeoff point. This adventure is set for, it's even level, see right here, Game Master Notes, level. This adventure is designed for a group of 4 to 6 level 1 characters. So this is your starting point, level 1. And there's a list for creatures, and then there's resting information, and then there's a loot information right here, as well as the basic storyline as well. Just the very basics. You got very nice maps. The only negative is that they have numbers on. There's not a version of this map in the book without numbers, as far as I saw. This quick page back through, just to remind myself there isn't actually no such thing. By the way, there is a lot of beasts in the back of this book. It's practically another monster manual. But anyways, the only negative is that there's not a version of this map that has no numbers on it. It would be very nice if there was a version in the book without the numbers. Otherwise, you have to use Photoshop to remove it out. These blue boxes are all read aloud text. Those are little important encounter notes down here. You have some nice artwork. The short adventure is done. This one right here is the Willowmance, is for a group of 4 characters, 4 to 6 characters, level 1. And generally, as I said before, it's all very well. You got nice. Well, there goes through. As you can see, it's actually very well written out. But, I'm not going to go through there's the second level of the Willowmance. And then the attic, as well as the crypts under it. And then there's the end, the conclusion. And then that's pretty much it. There is, say, Some of the adventures at the beginning are all single level short adventures, and then there's several longer form adventures towards the back of the book. I'm not going to show those off. But anyways, as it is, This whole chunk right here is nothing but adventures. As I said before, they all seem to be very well written. There are some random tables in there, some loot tables for various other things when you come across it. But then we jump all the way back here by part 2, the Bestiary. And in the Bestiary section, we have a very beautiful range of aberration, plant monsters, all kinds of sort. Almost every creature in here has some artwork for it. You got acid snakes, acid weird, anime daws, and Naruv. You got astral outsiders, astral assassin, astral avenger, astral conqueror. You got astral warrior, Auntie Avalon the worm witch. You got barnacle golems. You got continent. Okay. Corrupted angels, decayed commoner, decayed guard, decayed hunter, decayed master. Basically all undead. The decayed master is a CR8 creature. You got some devils in here. You even got some demons in here. And dragons. Some new types of dragons for players. You have a very nice selection. I'm not going to show you every single one of these creatures. Almost the vast majority of these creatures have some artwork in here. And typically there will be, if it's a big piece of art like this, you'll often have the labels of that creature or the names right next to it. So there is not a whole lot of question as which is what, you know. You got some elemental creatures, earth. You got some water elementals. I guess a creature that didn't quite get a piece of artwork for it. Got some furbolgs and so forth. Frozen zombies. There is actually a really nice selection of critters. Ooh, a bunch of gnomes and goblins. So you have some extra nice goblins here. Basically all themed around being gangsters. So you got interesting goblin society. Like a goblin boss. Or basically a mob goblin. You got ice spiders. You got all kinds of cool critters in here. You got a Lamia Regent and a tree monster or a plant monster. You got you got some lindworms. You got some nice variety in here that you can kind of meet out in all kinds of situations. You got some lizard folks. And some even more stuff. Some more undead. Rubbles. Different types of rubbles for different CRs. Some scarabs. And so forth. There is actually a really nice selection in this book. Yes. A cool-ass rabbit monster. And much, much more. And as well as this, in the very back here of this book, you also got some miscellaneous humanoids, guards, and bandits as well in the back here. And their stat blocks throughout here. With a nice range of CRs for low-level opponents. And then in the very back here, you got the by challenge rating list for all the creatures in the book. And then the list of all the creatures by type in this book as well. And you get some nice options for plants as well as... here's the list of all the creatures by type. And if you need to read that, he also has a list of by terrain as well for all the creatures as well. You got Appendix A, which contains more magic items that you can find in this book's adventures. Sad note, there is no artwork with any of these magic items here. That is a frowny face on my part. And then there's a handy dandy index, as well as the OGL right after the index. I say, short of like not having artwork for some of the creatures and not having unlabeled maps, a player version of the map, as well as not having all the artwork for the magic items, this book is like a 4-star in itself. It's sitting around that 4-star range. However, it could be easily a 4.5 star if it had the added details I've suggested for the book. It is very well written overall. It is a fairly chunky book, so you can hit someone with it if someone gets violent. Overall, it's quite nice, and I would certainly love future editions of Lairs and Legends and Loot and Lore for future sets of DM Lair books. Maybe the 2022s and the 2023 issues will get compiled into a Loot and Lore and a Lairs and Legends book. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you really like it, please share it with your friends. And I hope you have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful weekend, a magnificent month, and see you next time. Ciao.